2,000 years. No asphalt, no machines, no modern cement, yet some Roman roads are still here, and many of ours crack in 10 years. How? And here's the crazy part. The secret isn't what most people think. If you skip this, you'll miss the one detail that made their roads almost immortal. Imagine standing in the middle of the Roman Empire, soldiers marching, traders moving goods, messengers racing against time. Everything depends on one thing: the road beneath their feet. Rome didn't just build roads, they built control, they built speed, they built power. But they started with something surprisingly simple: a hole in the ground. Not a shallow scrape. They dug deep, sometimes 3 feet down. Why go that deep? Because Romans understood something many modern builders forget. Strength starts below the surface. First layer, large stones, heavy, rough, locked together like puzzle pieces. This wasn't random dumping, it was deliberate. Solid foundation. Then came smaller stones mixed with gravel. Then sand. Then tightly packed crushed rock. And finally, massive stone slabs on top, carefully fitted so tight you couldn't slide a knife between them. No gaps, no weak points. And here's the twist. Most Roman roads were slightly curved on top. Not flat, curved. Why? Rain. Water is the enemy of roads. Water seeps in, freezes, expands, cracks everything apart. The Romans didn't let water stay. The curve pushed rain to the sides into drainage ditches. Simple idea. Game-changing impact. But wait, there's more. The roads weren't just strong. They were straight. Shockingly straight. If a hill was in the way, they cut through it. If a valley blocked the path, they filled it. They didn't go around problems, they went through them. Why? Because straight roads move armies faster. And speed meant victory. Think about that. Every stone had a military purpose. Every mile expanded Roman influence. Roads connected distant provinces to the heart of Rome. From dusty villages in Hispania to the forests of Britannia, all routes led back to the capital, and they marked every mile with stone pillars called milestones. On them, the name of the emperor, a reminder. You travel because Rome allows it. But here's the part most people don't know. Roman roads weren't built by random workers. They were often built by soldiers. The same men who fought wars built infrastructure. Why would an empire train warriors to lay stone? Because discipline wins. Roman legions followed exact measurements, exact angles, exact methods, no shortcuts. If a section failed, it was rebuilt. Standards were strict. And here comes another twist. Not all Roman roads looked the same. In busy cities, they used massive stone blocks. In rural areas, compacted gravel. They adapted to the environment. Clay soil, more drainage, wet region. Deeper foundation, they studied the land before building. That flexibility kept roads alive for centuries. Now think about modern highways. Asphalt is quick, cheap, easy to lay down. But asphalt softens in heat, cracks in cold, needs constant repair. Roman roads, built slowly, expensive at first, but almost permanent. It's like the difference between buying cheap shoes every year or one pair that lasts a lifetime. And here's something even more impressive. Some Roman roads are still used today. In parts of Italy and Spain, modern streets sit directly on Roman foundations. 2,000 years of traffic, still standing. That's not luck. That's engineering philosophy. But let me ask you something. If they were so good, why don't we build roads like that now? The answer isn't technology, it's priorities. Romans built for centuries, we build for budgets. They thought in generations, we think in election cycles. They expected their empire to last forever, so they built like it would. And here's the final reveal. The real secret wasn't the stones. It wasn't the curve. It wasn't even the drainage. It was mindset. Roman roads were statements. They said, "We are here to stay." Every slab declared permanence. Every straight line declared dominance. When you walked on a Roman road, you felt stability. You felt order. You felt the weight of an empire beneath your feet. That psychological effect mattered. Traders trusted the routes. Armies moved confidently. Communication accelerated. The roads didn't just survive 2,000 years. They helped Rome survive as long as it did. And maybe that's the biggest lesson. Strong foundations, in roads, in cities, in life, decide how long something lasts. Cut corners and you repair forever. Build deep, build smart, build with purpose, and your work might outlive you. So, next time you see a cracked highway, remember, 2,000 years ago, without machines, without engines, without modern science, humans figured out how to build something that still challenges us today. The Romans didn't just connect cities, they connected time itself. And that's why their roads are still here, long after the empire fell. Now here's where the story gets even more powerful, because Roman roads didn't just survive nature, they survived collapse. When the western half of the Roman Empire fell in 476 AD, cities burned, governments vanished, armies disappeared, but the roads stayed. Think about that. The empire that built them was gone. Yet farmers, merchants, kings, and even invading tribes kept walking on Roman stone. Why didn't the roads fall apart like everything else? Because they were overbuilt. Romans believed in layers of security. First, they surveyed the land using a tool called the groma. Straight lines weren't guessed. They were measured with precision. Then, they cleared the path completely. Trees removed, roots dug out, soil compacted, no organic material left underneath. Why? Because rotting roots create gaps. Gaps create cracks. Cracks destroy roads. They eliminated future problems before they existed. And here's another twist. Roman roads were legally protected. Yes, protected. Special laws punished anyone who damaged them. Maintenance wasn't optional. Local communities were responsible for repairs. That means the system didn't collapse when Rome weakened. The responsibility was shared. Smart, right? But wait, there's something even more impressive. Roman roads weren't only for land. They connected directly to ports, and ports connected to sea routes. It was one giant logistics network. A message could travel from the Middle East to Britain faster than most medieval kingdoms could communicate inside their own borders. Speed equals control. Control equals power. Now imagine you're a merchant in ancient Gaul. You hear that Roman roads are safe, patrolled, reliable. Where do you choose to trade? On muddy forest trails or on stone highways guarded by legions? Trust creates economic growth. Roads created trust. And here comes another emotional beat. These roads were symbols of hope for ordinary people. In a world of uncertainty, they meant connection, news, opportunity, protection. You weren't isolated anymore. You were part of something massive. But here's a question most people never ask. If Roman roads were so perfect, why don't all of them still exist? Because time eventually wins, not against the design, but against maintenance. In areas where communities kept caring for them, they survived. In areas abandoned during the Dark Ages, nature slowly reclaimed them. Soil covered stone. Grass grew. Villages forgot they were walking on history. The lesson? Even the strongest foundation needs stewardship. Now fast forward to today. Engineers still study Roman techniques. Modern highways use layered construction inspired by them. Base course, sub-base, surface layer. Sound familiar? That blueprint started over 2,000 years ago. And here's the final twist that changes everything. Roman roads weren't designed to be comfortable. They were designed to be unstoppable. Walking on original Roman stone is hard, rough, uneven, but it doesn't fail. Compare that to modern, smooth asphalt. Comfortable, but temporary. The Romans chose durability over convenience, longevity over comfort, permanence over speed. And maybe that's why their work still humbles us, because the real secret was never magic concrete or lost technology. It was discipline. It was patience. It was the refusal to rush. They invested years into roads that future generations would use. They built for people they would never meet. That mindset is rare today, and that's why, when you stand on a surviving Roman road in places like Italy or United Kingdom, you're not just standing on stone, you're standing on proof that long-term thinking beats short-term shortcuts. Empires rise, empires fall, asphalt cracks, governments change, but a properly laid foundation, that can echo across millennia. So the next time someone says ancient people were primitive, remember this: they built something that outlasted their own civilization. And that's not just engineering, that's vision carved into rock. And now comes the part almost no one talks about, the moment Roman roads stopped being just infrastructure and became destiny. Because once the network was complete, the Roman Empire could move 20 miles a day with full armor, weapons, supplies. That means an army could appear at your city gates before you even knew it was marching. Imagine hearing rumors of rebellion in one province, and within weeks, disciplined legions are already there. Not because Rome had magic, but because Rome had roads. And here's the twist: the same roads that spread military power also spread ideas. Christianity traveled on Roman stone. Trade routes carried languages, culture, law. When you build roads, you don't just move people, you move beliefs. You move revolutions. Think about that. The network that once enforced imperial control later helped new religions rise and reshape Europe. That's irony carved into granite. But let's go deeper. Roman roads were numbered, mapped, documented. One of the most famous was the Via Appia, called the Queen of Roads. Built in 312 BC, parts of it still exist. Walk on it today and you can literally see the wheel ruts worn into stone by ancient carts. Those grooves aren't decoration. They're scars of time, thousands of journeys pressed into rock. And here's another question. Why did Rome invest so heavily in something so expensive? Because roads were insurance. If famine hit one region, supplies could move quickly. If invasion threatened a border, reinforcements could arrive fast. Roads reduced uncertainty. They turned chaos into coordination. Now compare that to societies without strong infrastructure. Communication slows, trade weakens, regions drift apart. Rome understood something powerful. Connection prevents collapse. But here's the emotional punch. Even after Rome fell, medieval kings relied on Roman roads to rebuild Europe. In places like France and Germany, entire towns grew along those ancient routes. The empire died, but its skeleton remained. Roads became the bones of Europe. That's legacy. And here's something even more fascinating. Modern archaeologists can often locate lost Roman cities simply by tracing straight lines visible from the air. Roman roads are so straight that satellites can still detect them. Imagine building something so precise that 2,000 years later, from space, we can still see your work. That's not just engineering. That's ambition frozen in stone. But now, let me flip the perspective. Roman roads also made Rome vulnerable. The same highways that allowed Roman legions to move quickly also allowed invading armies to move just as fast. When enemies breached the borders, they used Rome's own network against it. Power always carries risk. The tool that builds dominance can accelerate decline. That's the paradox. So, what's the real secret behind Roman roads lasting 2,000 years? It wasn't just stone layering. It wasn't only drainage. It wasn't even discipline. It was systems thinking. Every road connected to a bigger strategy: military, economic, political, psychological. They didn't build roads randomly. They built a network with purpose. And here's the final reveal. The reason Roman roads outlasted Rome is because they were designed for function, not fashion. No decorations, no shortcuts, no obsession with looking modern. Just strength, just clarity, just purpose. When you strip away ego and build for durability, your work survives trends, leaders, even civilizations. That's the lesson hidden beneath those ancient slabs. Strong foundations create long futures. Weak foundations create endless repairs. So next time you drive on a highway full of cracks and patches, remember this. 2,000 years ago, humans without engines, without power tools, without computers, built something that still challenges our standards today. Not because they were lucky, not because they had secret technology, but because they chose long-term thinking over quick wins. And that choice, that mindset, is why their roads are still here, long after the empire, the emperors, and the armies turned to dust.